Hi, very good morning.
Hi, good morning.
All I could say is a big thank you because we are aware that you've resumed office in Delhi.
Yes, and no, also in our Bangalore office.
Oh,
Mumbai,
completely. Oh, yeah, I think Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi have, I think, opened up right now.
Bangalore has been we've been in the green zone for almost from the start of May, where our office is. So
Okay,
partially open for a while.
right. And believe that if you're not getting it wrong, I think the women team in your office has been very proactive by coming to work and taking the initiative of actually shifting to Delhi
Yeah,
and absolutely hands-on is what we believe.
absolutely. And you'll be surprised. They were the first ones in to reorganize for social distancing. We've had a senior woman colleague who lives in a joint family and decided to support them. Let's
Wow. We have a good morning coming from Mr. Manish Gandhi. I'm going to give a brief introduction on you before we get into the session and topic because unlike a physical meeting, we have a cap here of 1 hour, even though we would have loved for it to be longer. So we have with us Sonali Rastogi, the founding partner of Morphogenesis. Sonali is an internationally renowned architect and the founding partner of Morphogenesis, one of the largest architectural firms in India and listed among the top 100 architectural firms globally. Working across a diverse canvas ranging from architecture to urban design, landscape, and interior design, Sonali is passionately interested in the materiality and craft and architecture and is deeply invested in the detail of building. A fellow of the Indian Institute of Architects, Royal Society of Arts UK, and a chartered member of the Royal Institute of British Architects. She also extends her impact on the built environment as a council member of the Delhi Urban Arts Commission. A winner of over 100 prestigious awards, her works have been featured in over 850 publications, both internationally and across Pan India. That is wow. And adding to this, we believe you do a lot of writing and constant research and probably some courses to keep you abreast and up to date. So over and above this, you have that as well and handling the entire firm.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Our topic for today is we're going to be talking on rethinking sustainability and architecture post pandemic. Now, having spoken about the roles and responsibilities that your entire team has in their office as architects, what, as per you, is the larger role of architects with the responsibilities that they have?
You know, a thing that I always say to new joinees at Morphogenesis, I said, please understand and look around you. Anything you look at or anything you inhabit has been designed by somebody. Okay,
Yeah,
whom has been designed
yeah,
by phone we are talking on has been designed by somebody. The
yeah,
picture is designed by somebody. You cannot
yeah,
open and not be looking at a design object. You
yeah.
cannot inhabit anything which is not called architecture.
Right, 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 right.
Architecture are kind of are synonymous with living. You cannot live without using the objects of architecture and design. So I feel that the role of architects or designers of any sort has always been the same. They look at their context and they design objects, things, interiors, urban landscapes for the usage of people. So today our parameters have changed. The role of
Yeah,
always the same. Today, the parameter
right.
we have a virus that cohabitates with us,
Yeah,
and we have to create the boundaries for this cohabitation. And the
true,
parameter,
true,
that's all.
true, true, true. When you actually spoke of designing being a part of what the architects considered as the role and responsibility, how important is research during actually conceiving a project?
I think without research, there is no project because at
Mhm,
Genesis, I have worked with the of doing a deep dive and looking at the project
mhm,
from scratch.
mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
from a client. One is add text. Okay, so what are the parameters that impact that project?
mhm,
That is a key question for any project to start. And
mhm,
without any types of. One is to the user and how he's going to live and inhabit that project.
Yeah.
Research into what is sustainable in that environment, because there's
Yeah.
anything more so than ever now, which is not
Yeah.
sustainable. We have seen the impact
Yeah.
of when humans have sort of, I would not say lived, they have behaved like invaders on Earth.
Yeah.
And when they have done that, this pandemic is one of the outfalls of such a behavior pattern. Therefore,
Yeah.
sustaining ourselves in a sustainable way on Earth, not in an invader-like way. Okay,
Yeah.
we have to optimize what we do, not maximize what we use from the Earth.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you maximize it, it will not share. Sharing means optimizing.
Right.
And our solutions will be unique based on all these parameters. Okay, a
Right. Right.
project. So
Right.
on materiality, on how to optimize, how to make it unique, what is livable. You know, it so that without that research, it's just pointless. I mean, there is no study.
So the parameters and basically the dialogue between the client and between you as a professional is going to change project to project. And now that we are talking sustainability, there's a lot of talk happening right now of local sourcing. Sustainability, not only as in sustainable or not only for going about make in India, but they're talking about sourcing locally from around the area as well.
So sustainability as a parameter, leave alone as a philosophy in life. But if you go look at any of the green rating systems, especially the Indian,
Yeah.
big fan of the GRIHA, it
Yeah. Agree.
finds a 100 kilometer dia, 400 kilometer dia. I mean, it defines that you get more sustainable if you get a large amount of the product that is going to go ahead and be used in the building from
Yeah.
the area. So it's not new. Okay,
Mhm.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's always
Right.
our attention is being drawn to it. It was
Right.
Our attention is getting drawn to it. I think for me,
Right.
the going local is something which I have had a lot of discussions in the past. Is for me is about people going local, not things you get. But
Right.
I don't understand. Uh,
We, yeah, we got it.
People are 30 to 40% of the people are migrants, and
Right.
they are
Right.
coming so far away from their homes that they will at most go back home twice a year.
Right.
Breakdown of culture. There is no father figure or mother figure, as it may be, available to that new generation.
Right.
And we talk about culture. We talk about Indians have family values, family structure. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not happening. So not
Yeah.
migrants living in squalor in the cities, but they are
Yeah.
also destroying the family structures of our rural areas.
Right.
My strong opinion is when family structures get destroyed is when you get crime.
Right. True. True. True.
What we need is, in terms of going local, is a
Yeah.
urban development map for the whole country. The financial input is given in a way that there is growth around all the human density areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Live in their own village and do the work. But there
Yeah.
has to be a lot of things that sustain, not just,
Yeah.
but that is the that in a way that nurtures a family structure, that nurtures
Right.
and nurtures uh, many areas of development rather than five or six men.
Right. Right. True.
People need to be close to their cultures and their families.
Right. Right. True. Taking 2 points about what you spoke right now, I'm going to come to the migrant problem a little later, which you mentioned, and hit on that again. But when you spoke about sustainability, what are your views on sustainability in metropolitan cities and its cost implications on a project? Since we're talking of sustainability right now.
So, okay, so this is a question that I used to be asked a lot at the morphogenesis began. and because
Right.
that being sustainable means 10% more cost or something like that.
Hmm,
Okay.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
It's actually completely contradictory. That's not the reality. So that may have happened 20 years ago at the start of getting these ratings and everything, because you could only use certain machines, and because they were rated in a certain way. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so that one of the passive means of being successful. So when you look at very second year in college, forget, if you orient your building in the correct direction, your energy requirement of only one parameter, correct orientation, can be down by 30, which means
Okay.
lesser electricity, lesser this, lesser. So, uh, so the sustainable meant the project not to make the project expensive. It's not meant. You're not being sustainable if you make it more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to reduce energy consumption. You have to recycle the entire water. You have to use the prevailing wind conditions. So
Right.
all of those things you use to make the
Yeah.
cheaper and more habitable.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I have,
We
I have somebody sending in that my video
the voice is breaking. Yeah, they mentioned the voice is breaking.
is it better now?
Yeah, it's louder.
Okay. So but the thing is I have to hold it differently. Okay. Let me try something else.
No problem.
Okay. Is it better now? Is it not breaking now?
For sure.
Okay.
Better. Thank
Okay.
you.
Let's try this.
Sustainability, we spoke of the cost implication, but what about it being in sync with happiness, being in sync with the aesthetic part of it as well? So, if you spoke about the cost implication, what about these two going hand in hand with sustainability? Because now I think it's going to play a bigger role, ma'am, if I'm not mistaken, the happiness quotient, because people are going to be spending a lot of more time in spaces and stuff.
So I don't actually see any issue. I mean, how is being
Right.
sustainable? How is it going to
Mm-hmm.
be less happy if you have a facing window versus a west facing window, and you are able to keep
Mm-hmm.
curtains open all day and get daylight in? That's a simple sustainability measure. How is it going to make you unhappy? Okay,
Right.
for me there is no possibility of being more sustainable actually leading to anything but a lot of happiness. Okay, cost I have already addressed. So
Yes.
and I actually feel that one of the things that Morphogenesis has always attempted is that to involve some local craft. Okay.
Wow.
Now there are two reasons. Okay. We have a huge project going on in Kolkata called ITC. We have used
Right.
that's what it's urban art in a way. Like we have used Bengali themes, created sketches with local artists, which are actually getting transformed into 14 or 16 floor murals and 28 of them. You know,
Hmm.
so for me, the richness of that bespoke facade
Yeah.
is going to be something that's going to outlive the life of the project itself.
Right.
Right now,
Right.
it's on sandstone. It's from local Bengali artists creating the sketches, and us using some kind of modern technology to get it engraved in a cost-efficient way. So
Right.
we have tied up local culture. We have given
Yeah.
employment,
Yeah.
and we have used technologies like of CNC cutting. Otherwise,
Right.
like
Right.
we'd be cutting it for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And then it's been cost efficient because we use the CNC technology.
True.
Okay,
True.
if anyone will go to
Yeah.
our website and see the ITC building, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, bespoke is an opportunity we have in India.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
World over, you have to be a billionaire before you can afford a bespoke anything.
Yeah.
Our
True.
bespoke lives down the road. For okay, so what needs to happen is that one needs to do a reality check that what is luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we look at bespoke, we look at local, my guess is that 90% of our notions of luxury are likely to change.
Change.
You know, luxury has been earlier defined for us by what we see in magazine as luxury.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has to be
But the
seen.
thing is, the media coverage of Indian design is so low globally, so low, that our
Mhm.
bespoke luxury is something that we are not valuing enough.
True. 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 Yeah.
We are happy with our embroidered Kashmiri shawl and we know it's bespoke luxury. We are happy
Yeah.
with our embroidered clothes and we know it's bespoke luxury. How is it that we don't transfer it to product design and building design? All
Yeah.
of that same craft and richness of tradition is available, which will make things sustainable for the population. So, socio-cultural sustainability, historical longevity.
Yeah. So basically, we are understanding that the creation of craft is important and it has to be seen for it to be alive. Number one, because if it's not seen, so I and secondly, when we spoke about sustainability, since we're talking about it, it is possible for the project to be luxurious and to be sustainable. When you talk about luxurious, we either talk about the elements which you just spoke about, our local culture and our local craft giving it a twist, or if you wish to marry the futuristic aspect with it as well.
Sure. I mean, you know, design is much like they say, music is not limited to a musician, it's for the world. Design is not
Yeah.
limited to the designer, it's for the world. Okay. I'm not saying that from now on it will only be used local, but
Right.
have to use our judgment and
Mm-hmm.
our luxury from a
Mm-hmm.
message of what is perceived luxury and what is the new
Yeah.
message we are going to give out.
Right. So luxury always doesn't have to be seen. It can be underplayed, understated as well.
Also doesn't always have to be imported. I have
Right.
I have nothing against the designers of the world. I adore, I follow
Mhm.
so many designers, I learn so much. But to
Yeah.
reflect our own, for that is something I'm not pro. I love the marriage of, like I said, design is for all. I love the
Yeah.
design as a unique marriage between things coming from different parts of the world. But
Yeah.
I would like to say that the current need for the moment is to pay more attention to our local
Yeah.
business.
I'm going to hit on the topic of architecture and design for all and community a little later, what you spoke about. But because you were talking about the migrants, what are your views on de-slumming of metros versus building vertical houses for migrants? So going vertical for migrants, getting them to urban cities, even though we have an understanding that the cost of land or getting them to urban cities is expensive. What is your take on de-slumming or going vertical to actually house them, which you made a very valid point on?
See, this is so there are many questions within this question. Okay,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are extremely labor intensive
yeah,
because a lot of our migrants into the city are first generation agricultural workers which are moving to cities. So their skill set is very low.
yeah,
The requirement of number of laborers on sites is way higher than it is in most places in the world.
yeah, yeah.
Like a herd of them, which is low skill, hmm, and low paid.
Right.
Okay, so somewhere in this whole question of migrants is
Hmm.
is lies embedded with its skilling,
Yeah.
for getting the right number of skilled people to do the right job versus millions of them
Hmm.
doing the wrong job. Uh,
Right.
then
Right.
uh, our I feel that our construction costs on the skill side are very suppressed. People
Right.
cheaper than almost anywhere in the world,
Okay.
but we try to build the same spec.
Right.
Okay, the same building to building between Gurgaon and London will cost 4 times more.
True.
Okay, and a lot of that, not all of it, a lot of it is attributed to what the labor gets paid.
Okay.
Okay, so the moment we start building in actual humane conditions, which is better skills but also living accommodation, there could be migrant hostels, for example. Why go into high-rise building? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why, if we are trying to also sustain the rural culture, grow agriculture, give incentive there, and one or two people from the family are working in a nearby city where they can at least
Yeah.
home and mentor their families, then the nearby city can think about workers' hostels.
Right.
right? I mean, it's not people's cities. When London was rebuilding itself, it looked at council housing. Hong Kong is filled with council housing. Singapore is
Yeah.
filled with that. So why do we not have a system of this? So for me, it's not so much of a debate about horizontal and vertical. Humans are
Okay.
very versatile. I mean, in the beginning,
Yeah.
a lot of those MHADA schemes where slums were being de-slummed and people were going into high rises, people talked
Right.
that they are never going to go. Initially, they sold it and moved back into slums, but it's now a success. So it's a
True.
mindset change. I mean, we want
True.
mindset change to be more sanitized after COVID, right? And it happened at the
Yeah.
because we were in a pandemic. But I think
Yeah.
if we don't stop the pandemonium that we create
Yeah.
with being insensitive to growth mindset, skill training mindset, uh,
Yeah.
then there will be more and more pandemics, and people will be
Right.
displaced. There will be. Pandemic is one. We're talking. We've had other pandemics. We have a raise of crime.
True.
Crime rate is the biggest pandemic.
Yeah. It
Okay.
is.
When people are dislodged, homeless, identityless, no sense of pride where they live, no skill growth, they have nothing to lose. So, and right
Yeah.
now, same situation, they have nothing to lose. They're just abandoning the sites and going back home.
Yeah.
So there is a deeper question of
Mhm.
growth orientation that is required for the nation and for these people.
True. We have a high coming in from Situ Kohli. We have a high coming in from Amanpreet Singh, from Floss, from CJ Living, from Mr. Sumit Gandhi. There's a lot happening down there, which I'll come to later. But since we spoke about architecture, which you spoke about, there's an understanding that architecture and design, as we've heard and we've understood, is not only for the rich or for the people who can afford it. Since you spoke about that, it's also for the community. It's also for the people, for the public. Architecture and design. Taking little from that from you.
I mean, to me, clear, like I said, you open your eyes and you're in architecture, right? I mean, somebody who opens their eyes in a hut in a village, he's still in architecture, right?
Absolutely.
It's for everyone. And one of the recent projects, which is one of my current absolute favorites, was the Zydus corporate headquarters we did in Ahmedabad and just handed over a couple of months ago. Our
Okay.
inspiration came from the Bhunga, which is that very famous mirrorwork hut.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because simply the location was such, the quality of the sun, the way the light reflects, and then we went into a history of the imageability and the identity that they actually worked as identity markers for different huts based on the different mirrorwork artwork that is on.
Right.
And so that was an inspiration and we were looking to create an icon and an identity. So we borrowed from the past. Okay.
Right.
So architecture is everywhere.
Right.
Nearly everywhere. How many rich are there in this country? I mean, not even 1% of the level that they can have customized buildings of their own. Rest
Yeah.
of the architecture developed by communities over time.
Yeah.
So just because they are communities that develop an architecture, it's not to say it's not an architecture. Secondly, talking about communities, I mean, most of our internationally renowned masters,
Yeah.
whether it's latest is Sri B.V. Doshi, who got,
Yes.
he's always famous, but
Yeah.
got
The Pritzker.
sort of awarded with.
The Pritzker.
Now, a lot of the projects that were talked and written about by media in the entire Western world were community housings.
Okay.
Or for low to mid segment. Okay. Sri Charles Correa is most famous for a lot of his housing projects, which are serving underrepresented segment of, let's say, our client set.
Right.
So, there's architecture everywhere. And I think there is room to as professional architects to service all of these segments.
Taking it from where you spoke about the Zydus corporate office that you worked on, we have an understanding that ancient architecture, what influence does it have in your practice? What are the suggestions on the need for the same in the industry?
So earlier in the chat today, we had talked about research. So I had talked about research on soul, which is a term we've coined: sustainability, optimization, unique, and livable. But
Okay.
what makes a situation unique is its context, and context cannot be separated from history. Okay,
Okay.
there are
Wow.
two reasons. One,
Mm-hmm.
because of the lack of transport that we have today,
Yeah.
most of the great architecture, not just India but almost anywhere in the world, has always used
Mm-hmm.
materials which have been available in transportable distance. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And secondly, the strategies they have developed to deal with their environment. So, for example, we have the Matka insulation of Rajasthan. We have
Mm-hmm.
the Roman baths, but we also have the stepwells of Rajasthan, where you stay cool as a community, and kept going down as the water kept going down. So they were dealing with the sun, wind, and rain, which has not changed.
Yeah.
Right. So those responses were absolutely critical for them to address, because they didn't have air conditioning and all the mechanical gadgets on the post-industrialization phase. So,
Right.
so whether it is hollow walls, whether it is jalis and jharokas, whether it is chhajjas and all of these things were an environmental response.
Right. Right.
Stupid to say that the book has been written several times over, but I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to make up my own book, right? So, which
True. True.
I think, to understand what has gone on in that context in the past, gives
Yeah.
us almost all the tools we need to understand the environmental conditions of that area.
Wow. We spoke a little on ancient and the significance and why we should pick it up from there. But what about synergy, between innovation and evolution, which is a constant? What is the key and how do they need to support each other, especially for the current times and trends that we are seeing?
So, I think evolution is a given, because
Yeah.
like we are evolving now in the post-pandemic stage.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yes.
and evolution can only happen through innovation. What does innovation mean? Of thinking something afresh.
Mm, mm, mm,
The
mm,
moments in life where something so unique as electricity is invented are very few.
mm,
Okay, they have no
mm,
innovation is constant. So innovation
mm,
is about re-looking at things from a different perspective and seeing how things can reconfigure, recombine, learn from the past, add from the current, and a new solution to address the problem that we are addressing a little bit better. The eureka moments
right.
of discovering electricity are very few. The moments of innovation are every single day.
Innovation, when we talk about, do the brands or manufacturers or the vendors who work with you or who approach you, do they get a piece of advice from you towards innovation, what the gap in the market is, what the bridge is which is missing, which needs to be filled? Does it come from you to them, or is it always them bringing it to the table? How does it work?
I think a lot depends on a person's own individual mindset. I have had
Right.
just learning from various vendors, because so let me tell you, inherently architects are bad marketing people, right? They're just inherently bad marketing people, which is why they are where they are. And someone whose job is to market every day
Yeah.
actually has a natural research mindset, because they are always trying to fill that gap with their product.
Mm. Yeah.
So I have had a lot of learning over the years, and so has my whole team. And which is
Yeah.
why we have these deep relationships with a lot of vendors, because people who they'll have an innovative mindset. I mean, I
Yeah.
I'll give you a slightly unrelated example. I have a client that produces alcohol. Okay,
Hmm.
next thing I
Yeah.
know, that they're producing sanitizers, and I'm like amazed,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I have a client that produces one of the top beauty brands of the country, top. Huh.
Mhm,
Next thing
mhm.
I know that they are producing herbal hand sanitizer. I have
Sanitizers.
a client who's a emerging fashion designer
Right.
and works with organic cloth and stuff like that. Next thing I know is that they are sending Instagrams of organic face masks with a hint of embroidery.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
so this is all innovation, right? To me.
Innovation completely.
So I think it all depends on a mindset of the person. And vendors have been a huge support in this journey in architecture.
We're talking about vendors right now. We spoke about your clients on one side. You being in the middle, how important is dialogue between you, between the vendors, between you, between your clientele for a seamless execution, for a seamless flow? Dialogue being very, very, very important or just overrated?
See, I'll tell you what happens with us. I'll give you only, I'm only speaking now for Morphogenesis. Okay.
Yes, please.
We are obsessively process driven firm.
Okay.
So our drawing work, our research work is more or less happening 6 to 8 months ahead of it being required on the site because it runs by packages, close a certain package, move on to a next package. So it's a very process driven firm. So what
Right.
is that vendors who are typically looking for, are not looking for depths. They're just looking to increase. इस quarter में sales sheet मेरी कितनी हो गई?
Huh.
That
Huh.
impatience doesn't work with us.
Right.
Right, because I would rather, okay, this is what I'm looking to do. I want to have an early meeting with you, look at the products you have, but look at this particular client likes bespoke, so maybe some part of it will be custom design, some will be from your standard product, or do you know of something which can be done with your product? And then I will they I mean they we probably do consume a lot of our vendors time, but
Right.
but to us not thinking about everything from scratch, even your
Yeah.
ready-made product is just not,
Yeah.
it just,
Right.
so even if a window person will come, we'll look at the standard section, but say, oh, but this goes to 3 meters, our windows 4 meters, shall we do it this
Mhm.
way? Can you speak to your parent company? I will adding this, make it work because the next segment is too high. And we want that dialogue. Whether
Yeah.
some clients want the dialogue and some don't have the time to have that dialogue, but for us we are not doing uh, we are doing disservice to our client not making the inquiry, and we are doing disservice to our morpho vision.
Right. 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 Right.
I mean, sure, it's not as though everything can always keep transforming. I understand that there are production lines, I understand certain things are standardized, but that is not going to deter me from asking the question. And
They need.
I expect that research from anybody partnering in with Morphogen
Right.
to achieve anything.
That's a little for everybody who's here, who wants to work with you. But having said that, you want them to be an extended arm of you in spite of not being a part of your office. They have to be that extended arm there, and they have to understand and be as sensitive as you are towards the entire project.
I always have one question I ask, and I almost never get an answer from anyone. Huh?
Right.
Okay, which is all those architects here on this chat. Could you tell me that how many people are involved in making of your building?
Mm.
I'll never get the answer because it is such a big network of people.
So, yeah.
Okay, not only is it architects, engineers, and the labor on site, it's every vendor. That vendor's factories, that factory's research lab, then somebody's, it's endless.
It's endless.
It's endless the number of people uh, involved in the final making of that building, right down to the RMC plant that is providing the design make, somebody else who's reviewing it, blah blah. It's endless. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everybody is a partner.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be a partner.
Yeah. Very important. Very true.
Even when they think they're just selling you something and going away, they're actually partnering.
Yeah. They're partnering with you. Very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the beginning of this point, we spoke about probably the scale and how involved you and the team are. Now, considering the size and the scale of the project, because you do it from probably 1,000 or 1,500 square feet till I think the largest structure we have in the world today, which we'll talk about a little later on. But how do you go about the design process when you talk about the various scales of projects that you are involved in?
So,
How does that happen?
so Morphogenesis is about design thinking. Okay, that's why we have the large amount of typologies we have, and that's why we have the committed number of architects we have.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, I think It's because the design thinking process, huh? Not, even a student is design thinking, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our team to do any work, huh, is always built from the junior level, which is the starting level at Morpho, which is L1, all the way up to a design manager, which is the senior most level. And there'll be 4 or 5 people involved in the process. Okay. Now, because it's a process-driven firm, I actually, everybody has a role to play. And even as it moves along, the person who's great at construction documentation is managing that. Somebody who's great at during construction supervision is managing that. So everybody plays the role that they like and that they're interested in to the fullest. And we have a methodology of recording the learnings of everyone back, which is called knowledge management.
Right.
Even if a new person is going to a site at some day, they first read up what are they expected to observe on a site at this stage, rather than just go generally look around and answer randomly. Because this is a profession. So this is how it works, that many people are working together and staying. It is opposite of the methodology which some great masters have followed in the past, is that on a trace, the master architect makes a sketch and hands it down and somebody else realizes that sketch. I am 100% opposed to that philosophy. So once it's a collaborative process, everybody has a stake, everybody has a bit of their vision and a bit of their dream involved in it. Then the structure of the firm allows the initiated and the young both to actually use the knowledge of the firm, to use mentors. We also appoint mentors.
Right.
Go ahead and do their job, hopefully first time right. Okay, and this sense of bringing forward their own dream in part or whole is what makes people say, and what makes them self-managed. I don't manage anyone.
Right. Absolutely amazing. Talking about what we have, since we just spoke about how times are going to change now, post COVID, 2 or 3 things that we want to understand from you. Firstly, when we spoke about, urban planning and we spoke about architects, do you think it is very important? Do you think it's high time? I think there are a lot of councils which are talking about this. Architects need to come in the forefront with urban planners for the planning of the city, how it's constructed right now, and sense of design needs to change in Indian architecture, not architecture, in Indian real estate. What is your take on that?
So there are 2 aspects to it. There's a governmental aspect and a non-governmental aspect. Governmental aspect has been sending out very confusing signals. Okay, the Act of Nation, for example, a Central Vista project that is supposedly due to come up, or let's say parliaments, Vidhan Sabhas, Vidhan Parishads, various Act of museums which we in this nation has stopped building, ports, railway stations, things that are for the public. Work over, it is done by inviting competitions. Okay, and quite often those competitions are put up for public purview for a while, for commons.
Right.
Design suitable for the job, goes ahead and does it. Okay, we have had that philosophy going on. Parallelly, we have a public works department policy, where instead of commissioning the project out in this simple best design that suits the project way, it's just given a public works department. Okay. Then they have some empanelment, then they have some favorites, and then they have some methodology which is not as defined as per Council of Architects or as per the best practices. So they have their own L1 type of methodology, which they have to do because they are the government and they work with people's taxes. But L1 of choosing an architect, which is defining the vision, which is going to stay there as a physicality, is not going to build a nation.
Right.
It's not going to build a nation. It's going to. So Public Works Department, to the best of my understanding, and I could be wrong, is actually the government's project managers. And their role should be that, any Public Works Department. And an architect's role is to encapsulate the vision for how we live from here. Right. The two
Right.
cannot be confused together.
Right.
So architects have had almost negligible role in policy of how this nation should be built forward, and they still continue to do so because the method of engaging is not there. It's not there. I mean, at best, some council of architects, some institute of architects, even if it was a very united body, could write a paper and hand it to the government. But then what? So the mechanism has to be relooked at how we build our nation, and that's where the problem lies.
Right.
Right, because the taxpayers' money builds that. The private
Right.
developer has a different approach. It's what is the market requirement and what needs to sell.
Right.
Okay. So of course what needs to sell has to capture the imagination of the buyer, but it's not about nation building. Okay.
It's not.
It's about a need.
Yeah.
It's about a need and response to that. So these are two different methodologies. First is suffering from a policy confusion.
Do you see any scope there?
Sorry?
Do you see any scope over there in the times ahead now that we're going through this? No.
No, because whilst I myself work on one of the government's advisory bodies, but
True.
such a large revamp required. Right, because it cannot be based on the same method that you procure an architect, or you procure a contractor, or you procure a bag of cement, or you procure artwork. It's all the same.
True.
So somewhere the passion, vision, I see somebody writing here, is getting this passion, vision, and dream that somebody is hearing right now from me.
CJ.
Not
CJ.
The nation is not being built with a passion, vision, and dream.
True. I think we have to just be that way. But we have a lot of comments here coming from Kanchan Puri and a lot more people agreeing with you, Seetu Kohli. There are a lot of questions, but before I get to that, since we are about 8 minutes only left into the session, a lot is being spoken about, and we're hearing a lot about your campus for ITC and the Surat Diamond Bourse.
Yes.
They're the two most talked about your projects currently, and you spoke to us about Sidus, which we weren't aware of. Can we take a little from you on these projects on the Surat Diamond Bourse or from the campus for ITC?
So Surat Diamond Bourse is the world's largest office building. And just for those of you who don't know, currently, before Surat completes, currently the Pentagon is the largest office building in the world. Okay. So Surat has given us, it was a competition which we won. And it was, but what it has given is reinforcement that how important it is to understand the people and to make it for them. So this is for the entire diamond trading community, which is right now spread between Mumbai all the way to Surat. And to understand their lifestyle, to understand the pain of the person who wakes up at 4 every morning, gets on a train at 5, reaches Mumbai at 9, then works there till 6, 7, gets on a train at 8, gets home at 12, to wake up again at 4. Okay, and the fact that he doesn't earn enough or trade enough to actually live in Mumbai, and his community okay, so we have to understand a lot of their lifestyle. We have to understand that it is incredible amount of democracy they work with. Okay, the most successful diamond merchant and the tiny starting guy who goes in the train every day actually all have a voice, and we are designing for a community. Okay, different about this is the diamond traders community that we are designing for. Okay. So, and then to understand their need, actually one of the reasons we were told later we won the competition is that we understood that more people will be entering this building at 9 o'clock in the first 7 minutes than actually enter this entire Surat airport in the full day.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so we had from the beginning thought about this, and we had thought that's a high security zone. And how do people get in and get out quickly without losing working time, without losing trade, okay, without feeling like cattle being herded in. Okay, and we realized that they do a lot of business by even now actually under the small traders do business, take out a potli from their bag and do a trade under a tree by lunch. Okay, so very community, and like nobody cheats each other in this community, like no one,
True,
you know.
true,
So
true, true.
so they have a very different style of working. So it's not
Yeah,
the
it's
same
very
as
important.
a corporator, but in
No,
many ways much more efficient.
right, it is.
Okay, it's filled with
Yeah.
trust, efficiency. Okay, it was a community project, so the cost had to be kept very low. Okay, so
Okay.
the big innovations we did was that while Surat is very, very hot, so the idea of
Right. Yes.
walking around in corridors which were non-AC with 45 degrees outside was not acceptable. Okay,
Mhm.
but then we came up with that we created a microclimate by putting radiant cooling. And what we have heard from various radiant cooling vendors is this is the world's largest radiant cooling application, and it's being used to create a microclimate, not actually air condition.
Wow.
And that really brought the
Beautiful.
cost of the project down, because 50% of the area is non-AC now.
Completely.
Okay,
Completely.
so
Yeah.
which one of us hasn't been to school or college in India where our corridors are non-AC? And it's fine.
Yeah.
And this one has
Yeah.
radiant cooling, so it's better,
Yeah.
right? Uh, so, so there was a lot of learning from the way they work. There was a lot of learning from how they take decisions as a community. Hmm. And it's a great fun project. I've really
Absolutely. I
enjoyed
can
working.
only imagine.
And actually, Kanchan, who's on this chat, is also working with me on that project. Mm,
Okay.
it's been fun. It's been fun, and the best part is quite often I think the bane of a lot of architects is saying client ने ये change कर दिया, client ने वो change कर दिया.
There's a
Here,
lot of that.
here the design vision has been allowed to stay completely,
Wow.
and that's a
It's a dream.
so I'm really looking forward to the finishing of this project next year.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wishing you luck on that. Something on the campus for ITC. You spoke very briefly about it
So
in
ITC was
the chat earlier.
ITC was again a competition, and
Okay.
it was a competition where I think, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 10 architects, some Indian, some international, were invited. We won that competition, and we won it for the main reason, which is iconic visibilities today, is that we decided that we'll understand the Bengali culture, and
Okay.
Bengalis are very, very proud of their culture, proud of art, history,
Yes.
legacy, Tagore, and they are heavy into conversation. They have political viewpoints on everything.
Yes.
Not
Yes. Very strong.
live in Bengal become like that, right? So we designed the entire project around art, literature, Tagore, lots of places for people to have
Wow.
conversation. And we said it.
Wow.
I mean, of course, we dealt with the fact that it's humid. So what can we do to accelerate wind movement? Lot of references
Mm.
to their local festivals, even in the simple choosing of pattern languages in the landscape. And of course, the entire 28 murals, which are 8 to 14 floors high, we put out an ad in the paper to invite local artists to come in and create their versions of the themes that we had given. And then we, in our studio, me together with a couple of colleagues who like sketching, we kind of unified it all into a similar style so that it doesn't look like completely sort of and that's what I love. I love the fact that we dealt with so many artists, and again ITC as a client allowed us to do that. We said हमें artist का festival करना है इधर, and they allowed us
Mm.
to do. So it was good. It was fun, and this project will also phase one of it will also be finishing soon. And one of the buildings I'll be finishing is one that was inspired by Tagore's references to the environment across his poetry, and a very talented landscape architect, Bengali landscape architect at Morphogenesis, came up with a crossword puzzle where you can trace various Tagore poem sentences in part or full throughout the. So it's
Unbelievable.
a fun thing, but that's what I talk about, how every architect gets to live their dream in part or whole. I mean, she kind of created the entire facade, and she was a landscape architect, but she was
Wow.
very familiar with Tagore's work. She wanted to do more with it. She liked the idea of modernizing it. So it's fun.
There's a lot more that we need to be asking you, but I want to take the questions because we have about 10 minutes left and we want something on a parting note. There's a lot I want to talk to you about. designing for different geographies, for different climatic conditions. But a question from Seetu Kohli that we have here: what's the way to have a better facade control, especially in our cities? We need to see more beauty around us.
Well, one of my jobs as Delhi Urban Arts Commission is supposed to be to ensure that, but I actually don't think anyone can ensure it. I think it's just better appreciation. If you look at the cultures, like if I look at Japan, I look at
Mm.
Scandinavia.
Mm.
It's hard to say that there's something really disturbing will come up there.
Mm.
Because the culture itself, the people have pride. Just now 2 minutes ago I talked about the Bengali pride in their culture.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's the appreciation of architecture, appreciation of design needs to start very early in our life. It used to be there in our historic traditions. It used to be there. Okay, so it needs to start very early in our life, so that we develop a meta language of what is acceptable. So people, so that, because it's not just up to the architect always to create this ideal building which is going to be perfect. It's the entire language of the community. What is the demand? What is the desirability? What is the brief? Accordingly, the entire construction industry develops materials. So it's more to get better looking cities. The architectural discourse needs to come to the common man and needs to be part of the child's education.
From there, right from there.
Yeah, which is very much there in evolved, what I call very evolved design thinking communities. Scandinavia is one of those, all across Scandinavia, and Japan is another one of those.
Right. Wow. Coming to sustainability, since we discussed it, we talking a little more on the interiors. Can you give us some materials that are sustainable to be used in interiors?
I want all that input from you all. I mean, so yeah, sure, what is sourced locally. And I'm not saying it's always, I mean, I'm more than happy. I am great admirer of Italian design. I'm more than happy to have lots of Italian materials. But there has to be like an optimized way of looking at things, and and of course, there's some common things that not only do we look at where the material is sourced, but we also look at the way it is produced.
Yeah.
Okay, and we also look at simple things like what a lot of educated people, my friends, are not aware of, that certain paints leave toxins in the air and certain don't. Simple things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would hesitate to give a general list of sustainable materials. I think because sustainability can't be so narrowly defined.
Yeah.
Something,
it
can't be. Something is worth it because it's a bespoke piece. So while I may be using hardwood, some amount of it, but I'll try to see that it's a renewable forest wood, or it's a wood which doesn't have high ecological value, but it's providing that level of craft and continuity of sustainability of culture. Right. So it's a lot to balance off. It's a larger philosophy than just a checklist. ये वाला sustainable है और ये वाला नहीं है.
Before going to the last parting note, just wanted understanding, do you think there's going to be importance for low maintenance products in this new era, or in our new normal, or in a new way of living right now?
I absolutely think so. And actually, if you look at many other parts of the world where labor is not so cheap and there are not 20 peons in every office and 10 domestic help in every house, if you look at we have not been thinking like that, but world over the thinking is like that. Okay. Like if you look at residential use interior material, 100 times they will think about what they can get to, can they quickly just wipe it clean? People will move away from things which have too many joints, that the crevices can't be cleaned, and things like that. So I think we are lagging behind because we've had a lot of help, whether it's in offices, homes, institutions. Otherwise, the material should be easily cleanable and easily maintainable has actually been, it's one of the key design parameters by which product designers design products which are for construction and industry.
Right. So there is going to be a lot of new product development that we are going to see from brands all across.
Absolutely.
If they won't do it already. Okay. Just wanting something from you on a parting note to the fraternity who's here. of architects, designers, build community, a lot of vendors over here who probably worked with you or were looking to work with you. Something on a parting note for all of them for the times ahead, or what do you expect, or what does the industry need that is a miss now in the times ahead? Can we have something from you on that?
Yes, I want to uh, share what we've been thinking at Morphogenesis.
Please, yeah, please.
There's a lot of doomsday saying, there'll be 15 months before economic revival, 18 months, this, that. On the other hand, there's confusing signals with the way America is opening up. Everything is opening up altogether suddenly. We don't know what the next wave of this pandemic, how high will it be, how low will it be, what the morale of the people. So there's a lot of confusing signals. We've decided that great when the business is great, and even when it isn't, we will consider it a great time to do all those things we say, time nahi milta nahi to kar lete. So which is, we've all of us during pandemic, by the way, every friend I'm speaking to has done it at home. People have learned cooking, new healthy dishes. They've changed their kitchen pots and pans, which were rotting away for a while. People, they've thrown away things from their cupboard, which were not necessary. Spring cleaning has gone on. So, जिसके लिए time नहीं मिलता था वो कर लिया. Now you're back. जिसके लिए time, research, innovation, upgradation.
Wow. Absolutely.
Creating better efficiencies, because we know now that that we may not have as much help as we thought we would always have. I think some amount of what I call a megalomania behavior,
Yeah.
my biggest best thing. I think some of that attitude might see a shift. So we would probably do and going back to then the discussion of luxury. I mean, it won't keep on expanding and expanding and expanding because we think we have endless resources to service our money. We may land up actually getting better and more bespoke, but in a limited area.
Great.
People have always talked about the difference between Bombay and Delhi and how people see space.
Yeah. Yes.
Delhi also will start to think about space a little bit more carefully.
All probabilities, absolutely all probabilities. We thank you for this enlightening session. It's been an absolute pleasure. For any further queries that you want to get addressed, you can, follow morphogenesis.official and you can put a DM to Sonali Rastogi that I'm sure she's going to be happy to get back to it. Sadly, we don't have too much time. Thank you for pulling the time out in spite of having resumed back to office. I mean, we know you were working from home and not staying at home, but we look forward to such interactions more in the future with you, and we thank you for this.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for all who
thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe and good luck to the entire team. Good day.